Alright guys, so it's the weekend. I'm out here messing with this tree again. You guys that have been keeping track of my videos, I've been working on my yard and my house and that kind of stuff. I've been having a lot of problems with this tree. This tree was here when we moved here in 2001, but anyway, I ended up cutting this up with a little small electric chainsaw, this part here that had fallen over. And I've just kind of got it lined up on the high side of the creek right here because I want to, you know, haul off the big stuff and then chip up the little stuff. But anyway, this mulberry tree is just kind of sprouted up as a grouping together, and it's, you know, I thought it was pretty much going to be dead and dying and all that, but it's sprouted new stuff here in the last few weeks, so pretty wild. But what's funny is this root right here used to not be here at all, and now I have to mow around it with the riding lawnmower because, you know, it would hit my blades basically. But I didn't understand why that was coming up. But I also noticed that the ground seems to be, the dirt keeps getting higher and higher around the tree, and I'm like, what the heck's going on? So when I come out this morning, this tree limb would hit me in the head where it come out, you know, further. So when me and my wife got out here and got to looking, this thing is separating. This tree is starting to fall. So, and I guess it's because they're sprouted kind of crooked, and then the tree limbs have just grown, you know, outwards, and it's, you know, putting a lot of weight on it going outward. So I think what I've decided to do, because I don't have the money to have the trees, you know, cut and trimmed and all that stuff properly, I'm just going to go ahead and go buy a chainsaw, and I'm just going to try to get, you know, and just like get a higher ladder obviously, but I'm just going to start cutting short sections a little at a time, because I know the more little short limbs I take off out in here, the more the tree will probably rise up a little bit. I don't want to cut a big section off and then it whack me and knock me off into the ground, you know what I mean? I'm not a I've never cut a tree up with a chainsaw before, until I did that one. So anyway, again, I don't have the money to call somebody and come out here and do this, because this would probably be, I mean, probably more than 1,000, and maybe probably north of 1,000, maybe 2,000, I don't know. But anyway, I'd like to trim as much of it out as I can. But I've got another one over here. So I've got this frame and this frame given away to a friend of mine, Scott, but I got to take the gear cluster out of this and the steering box off of that. And then I still need to finish working on the inside of my fenced area. I worked on it for a few days, but it's a mess in there, man. I wanted to get a little bit better before I show a video of it. But anyway, this frame will eventually go in there. But this tree here is twisted around, and it's coming around. And I know that when these limbs start kicking out, this thing's eventually going to try to fall too. So I really need, if I had a chainsaw, I can go in here and start cutting this up and get this removed. But anyway, it's just something I'm going to have to do. You know, I obviously don't know much about trees and all that, but anyway, I planted some grass seed back here. This is really, I didn't have much faith in this. I didn't bury the grass seed. I just kind of threw it in there, and then it rained for several days in a row. And this is cheap grass seed that I found at my local Dollar General. It was like $8, and it sprouted, because this was all bare dirt right here. So I am blown away. I even have little patches here too that were bare metal, and it's already sprouted up pretty good. So I'm pretty happy about that. I started trying to pack stuff in here, but I've got more stuff than I have room at this point for parts. So what I think I'm going to do is remove this post here and remove this section of fence, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and extend this fence area out to here. That way I could actually probably get that frame in there at that point, but I would like to park my riding lawnmower in there as well. I used to park it on this old bed mat out of my old El Camino, but anyway, it's just stuff that I don't want to get rid of. That's stuff I want to keep. But eventually, if I ever get those Monte Carlos done, I will take a lot of stuff to like a swap meet and sell all these extra Monte Carlo parts and stuff like that. I'm not going to sell the 55 stuff because I'm You know, I mess with those too much. Now this frame, I have a 55 4-door. Oh wow, look at that. Oh, it's coming through. I thought it was growing out of the frame itself. Anyway, back on track here. I have a 55 Bel Air 4-door body shell found that is setting on a rock pile. The guy took the frame out from under it and they set the body on a rock pile, so it hasn't been in dirt. And I don't remember how good a shape the car is. I don't think it's too bad, but there's no front clip, no engine, no transmission, no chassis, but everything else is there, and it's a Bel Air 55 4-door. So I have a frame here, and you know, I've been trying to talk the guy out of that car. And then when I was down at Stan and Nita's, I got a couple of extra 55 fenders. They're not great shape, and I got an extra hood. You know, none of the parts are really awesome parts, but they're repairable with sheet metal, like caps, and you know, get them blasted, do a little metal work and straightening and that type of stuff. So I could actually have another 55 4-door Bel Air car with all the parts that I have here. But it's one of them deals where I don't really need it, but like that frame, I don't really want to get rid of it, you know what I mean, because of that reason. But anyway, it sucks being a hoarder. I try to justify keeping things, you know what I mean. But anyway, just lots going on around here, and I'm gonna have a better video for you. Me and Steve worked on his rear bumper some more the other day, and we just can't get it. We can't get it aligned very well. I'm gonna have to do some. I'll let my dog back in. She's hot. I'm gonna have to do some more work on the. I'm gonna have to do a little tweaking on that bumper brackets and stuff to get that rear bumper to fit a little bit better. So I took. It was 6 days total. I started on a Friday and I finished on a Thursday. If that equals 6 days, I think I'm my math's right. And I started the car and drove it around here under its own power. But anyway, I'll just give you a quick glimpse there. That is a running, driving 55 Chevy now. This is the two-door post that Randy gave me for free. I put a door on it that he brought with me. This quarter panel was hosed on here. This is a real two-door car, but it looks like I converted this from a four-door, but this is actually a four-door quarter and a four-door door skin cut down. I'm going to be metaling all this in and all that stuff, but I'm going to put a four-door rocker on here. I don't have the money for a quarter panel, you know. So anyway, this car being stuck in the yard, it's killed all the grass here. I need to go get another bag of that $8 cheap seed, man. Get this little area done here, because that 55 sat here since last summer, and now the car runs, drives, stops, and moves. Now this is nothing that I would drive on the road. It's not legal. The hood's just sitting on there. It's not bolted on. I put a plug in the rear brake junction block, so the rear brakes don't even have a line going to them. It's just front brakes, and it's all the factory drum stuff. I had a brand new pair of shoes and a brand new pair of front wheel cylinders for 55 in a box, brand new boxes, and I have no idea where they come from. I don't know how long I've had them, and they still look brand new. However, I noticed when I come out checking for a leak that there's brake fluid all over the back of this tire. So this wheel cylinder obviously has an issue. So I'm gonna have to, it may not even have brakes now at this point with that much leaked out. But anyway, the hood needs a square nut welded in it, because the hinges on the underneath of these hoods, there's two square nuts on each side welded into the structure, and that's how you bolt it to your hood hinge. One of the nuts is gone, so there's a big square hole there, so you have to basically take square nuts and weld it fully welded in there. So that needs done. It needs a little work done with a hammer and dolly across this flange here, and then all the cross brace piece is gone, but I've got it out of a junk hood, and I've got it over there in my fenced area. So this hood needs to be bolted on, but it needs work done to it first. But I just put it on there to keep the rain out of the engine. This hood is decent. The hood is not bad at all, but it has a rust spot right here. So this just needs to be cut out and sheet metaled up and, you know, patched up, and it'll be all right, you know. This was filled in with filler where this goes, and I just knocked the holes back open. The hood bird, they had molded it all in for no hood bird, and most of the filler was gone, and I just chunked it back off there and popped the Bondo back out, and I've got the hood bird back on it. But this is all spare parts. This is all kind of my spare crappy parts, except the hood bird. I am going to reuse that. But I didn't spend a lot of time lining up the front fenders. Just kind of put them on there enough to where the doors open, they don't interfere. These fenders, they look kind of rough, but they're not terrible, you know what I mean? They need a little hammer and dolly work, obviously, and it's definitely sandblasted, but they're workable. That door, I need to replace it. That door is freaking rough, man. But anyway, I'll show you the engine. This is a worn out 350, and this is it's got purple cylinder heads. The water pump is solid rust. It's an old used alternator. It's got rusty headers for a G-body. I mean, I didn't spend any time on anything. I just bolted together crap that will go on there. So anyway, this thing doesn't have a hood latch or nothing in it. It's all empty. I mean, I've got all the parts here. I just need to spend the time and, you know, get the hood back off and fix it and all that first. But that car freaking runs, drives, and moves. And there's no telling how many decades it's been since it did that. And I think that's awesome. But anyway, now the car is mobile. And I love it. I freaking love it. So anyway, I took a bunch of cardboard and I put cardboard in the floors because all the floors are completely rusted out. And the idea is to keep the cats out of it because there's a lot of cats around here. And anyway, I don't want cats getting in there and spraying or anything, so I just did some cardboard on the floors and called it a day. I mean, it's good enough. You know, all I need it to do is move in the yard to mow around. That's it. So, and this is all old crap that I've got here. Got a 55 Oklahoma license plate on it. I don't have the trunk latch stuff. I have it. I tried to put it on, but nothing's working right because the whole tail pan area is all messed up and rusted out. But I put a gas tank in it, the factory style gas tank. It's got brand new fuel line on it, which I had to put on the frame before I put this body on this other frame. But you know, I put all the windows in it. And anyway, I did just a steering wheel I had in my attic. It's actually out of an 87 Grand National. And some of the dash stuff, nothing's wired up. The only thing I did, I took some wire and wired up the ignition switch to the starter, the distributor, and the alternator, because I didn't want the alternator not to charge. I just basically ran wires off of that universal ignition switch by hand and put ends on it. So that's all the car needs to run, drive, and move, but there is no other wiring in the car. I did hook up the gauges down here, which it's a capillary tube temp gauge. It's the oil pressure gauge is hooked up, and I just used the old plastic tubing because it was in the kit. This is an old gauge set that Steve gave me from his car, and then I hooked up the voltmeter so it would, you know, work. This is it's still got $5 wrote on it. I got that at a swap meet probably 2 months ago. This instrument cluster is just sitting in here, nothing's hooked up. Anyway, I just put some of the dash stuff in here just to make it look like a car again, you know what I mean? And then this is my fancy shifter I made. So this is a spare 700R4 that I have that is burnt up. I bought a Monte Carlo that somebody put a 700R4 in, and he said it had been rebuilt not too long ago, but when I got the car home, I had to drive it home at 35 miles per hour on the back roads because it was smoking inside the car real bad. They had cut big holes in the floor, and they had an aftermarket shifter in it. So you could actually see the transmission when you're driving the car. So when you stop, the transmission fluid leaking all over the exhaust was bringing smoke inside the car. But I noticed the transmission was kind of sluggish. But anyway, I got to noticing the next day when I come out and started messing with that Monte Carlo, the TV cable was just laying on the intake. They didn't even have it hooked up. So that transmission I know is smoked, but it has first gear and it has reverse, and that's all I need. This is a bunch of strap I welded together and it's got it bolted to the transmission. I put a little piece of tubing on here. That's reverse, that's neutral, and that's drive. That's all I need, you know what I mean? And again, this is all just temporary to make the car move so I don't have dead spots of grass. But it took me 6 days to do that, and I did do a whole bunch of video clips on this car. But anyway, you're just gonna have to wait to see them, I guess. But I just kind of wanted to give an update.